Do you believe Destiny would have survived without PvP? Strip away Crucible from the original game, and I generally don't think Destiny would have become what it is today. No matter how you personally feel about PvP, if Destiny 3 was to ever reach the same heights as its predecessors, it has to have PvP. And more importantly, PvP needs to evolve, it has to stay. And for that to happen, PvP needs to have, one, a dedicated team, and two, it can't be an afterthought, and lastly, it can't be a balanced nightmare either. Why does PvP matter so much in a live service anyway? Because PvP is one of the easiest parts of Destiny that can be content finite. This means PvP is a mode where the amount of content Bungie has to build is actually limited, but the amount of replayability is basically unlimited. If it's fun and it has a healthy population, it can be just that. Now, compare that to most of Destiny's PvE. PvE is a content hungry, and it's content hungry by design. At a minimum, for an expansion to land properly on the PvE side, Bungie needs to deliver on a few basic things. A brand new patrol destination, 6 to 8 story missions across new spaces, a bucket load of weapons, perks, armor, and sandbox changes, and at least one raid. That's baseline expectation, and it's not an exaggeration. Now, when PvP actually received new maps was, I believe, during the Interlight update, where it got 3. Eventide Labs, Dissonance, and Sirius Plaza. Outside of that, PvP has lost way more maps through sunsetting and Beyond Light that it's gained over the years. So what's the difference? When a new expansion is being built, you've got multiple directional teams that work in parallel. So you've got a gameplay sandbox team, a worlds and design team, you've got an activities team, and lastly, you've got a few smaller individual teams that deal with like UI and UX sort of updates. PvP realistically lives inside the activities team. And yes, over the last 18 months, Bungie has experimented more. We've had a few new modes, some rule changes, and some attempts to shake things up. The effort is noticeable at the very least, but the real question is that genuinely enough to keep PvP alive long term? Because when you step back and really take a good glance at it, is it really unreasonable to expect that every expansion delivers at least one brand new Crucible map? A map that's actually designed around the new world Bungie has just built. A space that reflects the tone, the scale, the identity of that expansion that just released. Now here's the thing. I'm not even the biggest PvP player anymore. I've aged, my reactions are not what they used to be, and mainly most of my friends have moved on from competitive shooters entirely. But even with all that, it's hard not to ask the question. How did we go from the heights of PvP in Destiny 1, something that genuinely helped define the game and grow its audience, to the slow decline we've seen over time? You can point to a lot of factors, and the most obvious ones is Bungie's aggression expansion into multiple projects. Most notably, the new up-and-coming game, Marathon. A game that is literally right around the corner and is very clearly a PvP-focused extraction shooter. And to be clear, I am not anti-Marathon. I personally love first-person shooters. I love Bungie shooters. I even love extraction shooters. That altogether means there's a good chance I will definitely play it. But the concern isn't the game or the genre. It's generally the trust. Because for a lot of the Destiny community, Marathon has become the poster child for these incubation projects. The symbol of time, talent, focus just being pulled away while Destiny slowly drifted, never quite reaching its full potential. And that spans over that 10-year period. That resentment didn't come out of anywhere. It came from watching something like PvP stagnate while knowing Bungie was capable of much, much more. And that's the core issue. Destiny 3 has to confront head-on. If PvP exists, it needs to feel intentional again. It can't be the side effect of sandbox changes or a leftover system. To make this work, Destiny PvP needs to be clear and deliberate, split between casual and competitive experiences. Much easier said than done, of course. Right now, PvP is spread across a few lanes, really. Trials, the competitive playlist, the standard core crucible that you can include Iron Banner in there, and some party mods. And speaking as a very dirty PvP casual these days, the party modes are easily one of my favourite. The snowball fights, mayhem, heavy metal, generally enjoyed grinding out the title for that one. They are fun, they are silly, they don't pretend to be anything else. And here's the problem. Where's the progression in these modes? Where's the reason to stay? And where's the feeling that my time actually matters? Because it is an MMO, an ever-existing world that keeps ticking on. At the moment, all these playlists offer the same rewards. If you're the right power level, you can walk away with tier 5 drops without ever engaging meaningfully within any mode. And you don't even need to perform particularly well to do it. Except, of course, in trials. Because I learned the hard way. If you get wiped 5-0 without registering a single kill, you're not walking away with much of anything. And that's fine. That mode should be punishing. If Destiny 3 wants PvP to thrive, it needs to stop treating every mode like it feeds the same reward pipeline. Casual should be rewarding, but without being stressful. Competitive should feel aspirational without being hostile, toxic. And trials, well, we need to think of something else entirely for that game mode. It's getting to a lost cause. I have 3 main things that Destiny PvP really needs to do in the sequel. My first one is you need to separate that bloody sandbox. This is my single most requested PvP change because it instantly solves so many long-standing PvE versus PvP arguments the community has been stuck in for years. Balance complaints, ability nerfs, weapons getting gutted because they are strong in one mode but not the other. A separate sandbox, I feel, is just an easy win. Yes, it would increase the workload for Bungie. Let's be honest. There's no point pretending otherwise. But the long-term health of both PvE and PvP would dramatically be better for it. PvE players get into their own power fantasies intact. PvP players get a space where they can be tuned properly without everything being held hostage by raids, contests, GMs, seasonal metas. You could go one further if Destiny 3 keeps seasonal artifacts and mods. Have 2 of them. One with all the PvE goodness and the other could drastically change up the PvP sandbox. With keeping both sandboxes separate, you wouldn't even need to align perfectly all the time. They'd only need to meet at key moments, like when new content drops, instead of constantly dragging each other down. And here's the bigger picture. If, and it is a big if Destiny 3's PvP ever grows into a genuinely competitive online scene, separating the sandbox makes it far easier to justify something Destiny has never truly had. A dedicated PvP team. And that dedicated PvP team needs to stick around. A whole team, entire job is Crucible. Now, I know the immediate question that pops up as well is Gambit, and yeah, that's a conversation for a completely different time. The second thing PvP desperately needs is new ideas. Proper new ones. Not just new modes with different scoring and different rules, but genuinely fresh concepts. PvP games in general, especially long-running franchises that stick to the same formulas year after year after year, tend to slowly rot. Even if the gunplay is great, familiarity turns into boredom. You can only play variations of the same match types for so long before the magic wears off. The games that manage to reinvent themselves, or at least meaningfully evolve, are the ones that saw real resurgences in popularity. And if you look back over the last 10-15 years, mostly Destiny's lifespan, you can clearly see the trends of what online multiplayers were genuinely trying to chase. Battle royales, hero shooters, and the ever influx of Halo, Counter-Strike, Call of Duty style online games that Destiny is a clear part of. Take Battlefield, for example. They don't have a yearly release, and with Call of Duty having a poor reception last year than previous years, it did great with player numbers. But there was a sharp decline, because nostalgia is temporary. And if you trend chase on the decline of said trend too, people just tune out. Destiny has the same warning. I am giving this warning to the next installment. As Destiny 3 is at its most dangerous of people just coming back for nostalgia and namesake.
But PvP needs to evolve for better player retention.
It's a very good version of that familiar formula, but it's still extremely familiar, and that is the issue. Destiny has that one key advantage most PvP games don't. It has that massive range of classes, subclasses, abilities, movement, the sci-fi fantasy all mingled together, justifying almost anything that you can do, bringing in your own guns from PvP into PvP. But why does PvP feel so restrained? And that brings me to my final want in a PvP sequel. And this one is a very much personal want, but I do believe Destiny has completely missed an opportunity to tap into one of the most powerful systems in MMOs. And yes, I know Destiny is an MMO light, but hear me out. Player to player trading. And not just in the boring way, not meet me next to Banshee 44 and I'll hand you this hand cannon for some glimmer. No one wants that. What hardcore Destiny players actually want is far more dangerous. It's gambling. Now, imagine this. You're playing trials or competitive and you're locked into the ticket. You may have 3, 5, 7 wins. You've gone flawless, and at this point, you unlock access to something. That something is hidden. It's something off the books, a black market. This black market is where Guardians put their own weapons, armor, or rare currencies on the line. And here's the massive twist. You don't earn things from the black market by grinding. You earn them by beating another player, 1 versus 1. Think specially designed duel maps with that tight spaces, no nonsense, no teams, you versus another player. Call it something Destiny flavoured too. K-Till's Coliseum. Actually, no, don't use that. That sounds too good and I want to use that for an exotic later. But this is where Fireteam Finder comes in. Once you're eligible to open the black market, you can see a list of challenges. And you can see what they're putting up for grabs. Say they can offer up to 5 things. And alongside those items, you can see their seasonal record on trials, competitive, their dual wins. You can see their kill-death ratios. You pick someone on that list and you select that gear piece that you wish. And they get to do the same. And you put both items up for collateral. Because you've put 5 up, they've put 5 up, you have matched that player, selected their gear, they've seen you accepted one of your pieces of gear, and now you load into a 1v1. Winner takes it all. That's it. And this is where I want my channel to shine, because if you've watched my previous content, and for today I'm recalling back to the progression video, you might remember I briefly talked about an idea that sits right at the top of Destiny's endgame. And I want to bring it back in this conversation with the PvE/PvP, because it matters for what I'm about to say next. The idea was an endgame currency, but not the kind we already have, not something you stockpile, spend, forget about, that sort of jargon. It's the endless loop progression. The concept is relatively simple. It's just a currency that lets you take any piece of gear, a weapon, an armor piece, and you push it into that exotic level territory. You don't replace it, and you cannot re-roll it when you've locked it in. It changes it permanently. Once you use the currency, your piece of gear is frozen in time, is what I described it. You can't craft it anymore, and you can't swap perks or whatever. Your choice generally matters, you putting it on that piece of gear. And in return, the gear gains a bit, well, it becomes a bit more transformative. And it gains like an exotic style trait, that behavioural change, so that risk-reward twist that you really need. Not something you're meant to collect, because you can't collect them all, you just do it as and when you receive this currency, because you're not supposed to finish this endgame loop, and that was the point of it, and that's what I'm trying to gain here. So, crucially, for this little piece of gear to work, and for this PvP endgame scenario, Imagine that you're really chasing down a certain combination for a hand cannon or a shotgun that you really want. You know there's an exotic trait out there that you can blend this endgame currency into it. You're just never ever getting it. You come onto the black market. You see a said player selling that exact shotgun version or hand cannon, whatever it is, on their 5 marks. You select it, you challenge them. That's what this endgame's there for too. You blend in 2 ideas together and it is a perfect feed between both sandboxes. And that's how you get away from just a player and player meeting in the tower, trading laughs and handing each other weapons. This time you need to shoot one of them in the face to get the weapon. Now obviously for something for this to work, you do need to have a few safeguards in place. Obviously, anti-cheat is the first one. That is obvious. The second one is you need to think of ways of how you can battle the same person over and over again. Take away the ability to matchmake anybody in your friends list, anybody in your clan, and think about weekly resets too. That once you matchmake with an individual and that game has been complete, you are unable to matchmake against that individual again for a full solid week. And this is how you can introduce them 2 things, that PvP only endgame that's big in trials, and this is how you can introduce something that is like player and player trading without breaking the full set of economics within Destiny's world. And you now give PvP real stakes again, not just rewards, risk. So would I want this in Destiny 3? Absolutely. And I'm genuinely curious, would you? There are other topics that we can deep dive in for PvP for a different time, and they will be much more technical really. PvP onboarding and how you really get a better progression system throughout the whole sandbox on the PvP side. Because it can't just be loot. You do need to think of how you actually rank up better, because I don't think the ascendant chase through competitive is enough. How much matchmaking would work? Would you introduce skill-based matchmaking? How would you tune that? And really the maps themselves, and what would you like to see within a map on PvP? Because there are some maps that are generally adored and others that are just hated. An idea I believe would have been good is using certain environments from a raid or a dungeon and converting that into a 3v3 map. The first encounter of our disciple always comes to mind, how much cover there is, how much height there is, and it would generally be a great mini-map. And think of like free-for-all within that map and how enjoyable and chaotic it would be. And even though on a bird's eye view, PvP is relatively small, it is the hardest thing to maintain, which is exactly why it deserves its own team. So should PvP exist in Destiny 3? Yes. And should PvP exist exactly how it's been for the last 10 years within the sequel? Absolutely not. So let me know what you would cut, what you protect, and what you would rebuild within PvP in the next sequel. Because that's the conversation, and that's the point. So please like, subscribe, enjoy your morning, afternoon, and evening, and I'll talk to you next time.